As the crowded bus jolted to a stop, young Alex noticed an elderly woman struggling to maintain her balance. With a heart full of empathy, he quickly rose from his seat and offered it to her, a warm smile lighting up his face. Just as the old lady gratefully took his place, she reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. She looked at Alex with eyes gleaming with gratitude, handing him the envelope and whispering, "Open it when you get home, my dear." Alex was staring at the closed envelope on his table. He was surprised that he had actually been able to keep it closed until he got home that day. But his curiosity was killing him at the moment. The whole situation with the unknown lady was just so strange, and he was desperate for answers. With his hands shaking, he carefully opened the old-looking envelope. He expected there to maybe be cash in there, but was surprised when all he saw was some sort of letter. Did this old woman have some sort of thank you note prepared just in case? But when he read the first words, his heart nearly stopped in his chest. He was sure he had never met this woman before, but the letter still started with, "Dear Alex." But who was this elderly woman? Why did she give the note as a thank you to Alex, and what was written on it? Alex absolutely hated the fact that he always had to take the bus to work. It was always so incredibly busy around these times, but he simply did not have another choice. And he knew that everybody on these buses was struggling, especially the elderly. The ride had a lot of twists and turns, and it could be very difficult to keep your balance sometimes. Most elderly people taking this bus were seated, but today one woman was trying to stand near the entrance and struggling very much. Alex knew that a lot of people with seats had seen her but were ignoring her. They clearly did not want to give up their spot and just pretended that they did not notice what was going on. And Alex knew that he did not want to be one of those people, and so he quickly approached the lad. He offered her a smile and a hand. He told her that if she wanted a seat, she could have his. At first, the old lady refused, but when Alex kept insisting, she eventually obliged. But by that point, somebody else had already sat down in the seat Alex left behind. Luckily, the person did not have a heart of stone, and when she saw Alex come back with the old lady, she quickly stood up again and apologized. Alex was revealed by this, as he was afraid that this had the potential to turn into a whole thing if the woman just claimed the spot for herself. The old lady had a smile from ear to ear as she sat down in the chair. Alex could tell that she probably would have never asked for it herself, but that she was really happy with the seat. So happy that she apparently wanted to give Alex in return. When the old woman started reaching in her purse, Alex was afraid that she wanted to give him some money for his kindness, and he immediately flat out refused that. He did not need a reward for a small kind deed like this. But that did not stop the woman. Alex kept repeating to her that he did not want anything, but then the old woman pulled a crumbled, old-looking envelope out of her purse, which got Alex his attention. He was immediately quiet. What the hell did she want to give him? The woman pushed the envelope against his chest with a smile and told him that he needed to take this home. But not only that, he could only open the envelope at home. And this she said with a much less joyful and much more serious tone that caught Alex off guard a bit. Alex wanted to ask the woman more questions about what the envelope entailed, or why the old lady gave it to him, but he was already at his stop. The bus slowed down quickly, and Alex needed to be quick if he wanted to get out. And so he thanked the woman and made his way to the exit. He put the envelope in his bag for now. He wanted to just open it right away because he was extremely curious as to what could be in there. But something inside him told him to listen to the old woman and wait until he got home. Besides, he needed to focus on work for the next 8 hours at least. But that proved to be a lot more difficult than Alex first expected. he would not get the strange interaction with the old woman on the bus out of his mind. He was absent-minded in meetings and forgot appointments that day. It even got to a point where his boss complained to him about it. When his workday was finally over, Alex could barely contain himself anymore. He got on the first bus home and had the envelope on his mind for every single second of the ride. It was busy on the bus again, but Alex was too nervous to sit down anyway. When he got home, he immediately took the envelope out of his bag and put it on the table. He did not even have the time to take his shoes off. He was nearly shaking with anxiety when he opened up the paper, and the first words written on it made his heart sink even more. Dear Alex. He could barely believe his eyes. How was this letter addressed to him? He had never seen this old woman before, and she just happened to have a letter on her addressed to somebody with his name. He had not even told the old woman his name. The letter continued. I know that you probably have a lot of questions right now, but I can't answer them in this letter. I need you to meet me at this address tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon. If you are not there, then you will never see me again. The letter did not even have a sign-off or name at the bottom of it. Just an address. And that was it. Alex did not know what to think. There was something very strange going on here, and he had been completely caught off guard by it. He had no idea what he was supposed to do now. Part of him wanted to call the police and ask for help, but he knew that they would probably do nothing in this situation except advise him not to go to the location tomorrow, which was something Alex was very much considering himself. What did he want to gain here? It felt like a big risk to go somewhere without knowing exactly what is set to happen or who was waiting there. It could be the old woman, but why would she go through all this trouble? Alex really felt like there was something else going on here, something bigger. And whatever it was, it had gotten Alex equal part scarred as curious. He knew that it was a stupid idea to go to the location tomorrow, but he also knew that he could not just let this opportunity go by. He would forever wonder who or what was waiting for him there. And so Alex made the decision that he was going to go to the address. He was not going to tell anybody about it, as people would just try to talk him out of it. He did opt to not take anything of value, as he was afraid that he might be set up here for a robbery. Nervous as could be, Alex was not able to fall asleep that night. He just kept thinking about whether he was making the right decision here. So much of what happened today did not make any sense. Mainly how this woman could have possibly known his name. It almost felt like this was being set up or something like that. He had no idea who the old lady was, but maybe she had known exactly who he was. She almost had to have known. Maybe that is why she had been standing instead of asking for a seat. Maybe she had even rejected other people already. So many things went through his mind, but he knew that if he wanted answers, his only chance was to go to the location tomorrow. He had to hope that there was somebody there that could tell him what the hell was going on. Otherwise, he would be wondering about it forever. The location was about a 15-minute bike ride from his house, and Alex made sure to leave on time. The letter had stated that if he missed the appointment, he would never have a second chance. So he would rather have to wait there for a little, rather than be minutes too late. When he got to the location, Alex suddenly felt a lot less confident about his decision. The address was to an old abandoned warehouse, and the whole neighborhood looked shady as could be. Alex started to feel even more like he was about to get robbed. He considered turning around and just going home. But he would never forgive himself if he did that. But he did not just want to be waiting there as a sitting duck for whatever was about to happen next. Maybe he could find a place to hide where he could see the exact location. Alex felt anything but at home here. He just could not understand why the old lady had told him to come here. What kind of connection could she have to this place? He could not imagine that she had even ever set foot here. But Alex would soon find out that he was very wrong with this assessment. He quickly discovered that the exact location he was supposed to be at in 45 minutes was the center square of the old warehouse. But Alex had already decided that he was not just going to sit there and wait like a sitting duck ready to be shot by the hunter. He took a bit of time to find a good hiding spot from which he had perfect sight of the square so that he could assess the situation before he decided on his next move. It seemed like a fail-proof plan, but it turned out to be anything but. Only 5 minutes later, still way before he was supposed to be at the location, Alex started to hear a lot of footsteps and people entering the building. He tots very nervous and tried to be as quiet as possible. An ambush. This is exactly what he was afraid of. Taking the occasional peep out of his hiding spot, Alex could see that these people were mostly wearing the same sort of uniform, but he could not see what it was for exactly. He also saw that they were starting to work very hard to set something up in the center square. Alex was really curious. Was the hell they were building in the spot that he was supposed to be in 20 or so minutes? Was it a trap for him? Or something completely different? Either way, his curiosity was getting out of control, and he would eventually come to regret that very much. He could only see the center square when he poked his head out from his hiding spot a little, and he was starting to do that way too much until the inevitable happened. Somebody spotted him, and from that moment, everything started to really fast. Alex instantly knew that he was busted when the man who spotted him pointed in his direction and shouted, "He is already here! Get him!" Not only was he spotted, but the man recognized him and knew who he was. These people had to be working with the old lady from the bus. Alex knew that he was drastically outnumbered here, but he was also not going to go down without a fight. He jumped out of his hiding spot and started to run away from the center square where most of the uniform-wearing people were gathered at that time. He had no idea where he was going. This part of the warehouse was a maze, and Alex could only hope that these people were just as clueless as he was here. But that hope seemed to be futile as he heard the footsteps and voices coming closer by the second. The people were coming from all directions almost. They were closing Alex in. But then he heard them shout something which greatly helped his attempt to escape. "Don't let him get to the emergency exit!" That had to mean that there was a way out of the building nearby. And sure enough, Alex managed to find the door just a couple of seconds later. He felt his chaser's hot breath on his neck and quickly pushed open the emergency exit door. On the other side, he found some metal bars, and he did not hesitate a second to block the door with them. And he was just in time as he could hear the force of people crashing into the door, trying to get through. But the metal bar was making it impossible for them to even open it up a little. And Alex already heard them telling others to try and cut him off at the exit outside. Alex started to run down the stairs as quickly as possible, but just before he managed to get out of earshot of the door, he could hear somebody say, "Alex, we don't mean you any harm." He had to contain himself to not roll his eyes. They could not seriously expect him to fall for the oldest trick in the book. He made his way to the exit as quickly as possible, and luckily arrived there before any of the uniformed men did. He rang out and dove into the nearby bushes, hoping that nobody saw him. But luckily for Alex, the streets were empty, and his assailants only came around the corner moments later. Alex saw them grabbing a set of keys out of their pocket to open up the door from the outside. This showed him that these people were indeed very familiar with this place, and they also quickly realized that they must have missed him and that he had escaped. Alex was praying that they would just give up after this and stop this chase, but he was sadly not that lucky. The men were immediately instructed to search the area, and one of them also radioed for backup from all the other members of their team present at the warehouse. Alex was exhausted and knew that it was now only a matter of time before he was found. If he stood up to run away, they would most certainly see him and capture him. And if he stayed put, then there was a good chance that he would eventually be found. With that inevitability hanging over his head, Alex decided to call the police. Maybe if he was found, he could stall them long until before help arrived, and then he might make it out of this situation. He dialed 911 and started to whisper to the operator about what was going on. The situation Alex was finding himself in was so complex that he had a hard time explaining it correctly to the woman on the other end of the line. But just as he started to convince her that he really needed help and was about to tell the coordinates, his luck sadly ran out. Without warning, Alex, his wrist was suddenly firmed and grabbed, and before he realized what was happening, his phone was pulled out of his hand. One of the men in uniform had heard him talking to 911 and snuck up on him before he was able to report them. He put Alex his cell phone to his ear and told the operator that he was sorry, but his son had been making a prank call. He would make sure that it would never happen again, and then hung up the phone. Alex felt the last bit of hope he had drained from his body. He should have never come here. The man took Alex by the arm, and he put up little resistance this time. A lot of other people had already made their way to his location, so there was no way he could run again. That would probably only make it worse anyway. So he just let himself get taken to the center square. Not a single member of the uniformed man said a word to Alex. Some looked at him annoyed because he had slowed down their work, but most just seemed happy to see him, almost relieved that he was there. Which seemed a bit strange to Alex, but not something he could really focus on right now. Whatever the men had been building here was far from finished, which made sense because they had been interrupted by their effort to catch him. But it was now 3 in the afternoon, the exact time that Alex was supposed to be here, and so there was no time to waste. Alex sat down in one small chair, and the man who had accompanied him put his hand on his shoulder. He whispered in Alex his ear, "You have not made this easy for us, but it will all be worth it in the end." And Alex did not know what to think of these words. Were they supposed to comfort him or make him more nervous? Who was it going to be worth it for? For him or for all these men in uniform? All questions that Alex would soon have answers to, as that was also the moment that a familiar face walked into the room. Alex recognized her immediately. It was the woman who had given him the envelope on the crowded bus. She was impeccably dressed, completely different than the first time he saw her, and she was smiling from ear to ear. She seemed to be so happy to see her. She came to stand right in front of Alex, and before even introducing herself, she flat out asked him why the hell he would run away. They were setting up everything here for him, to honor him for what he had done. And Alex could not help but be caught off guard by those words. Was this actually going to be something positive? In this shady neighborhood? With all those people chasing him? If this was supposed to be a positive surprise, then they really missed the mark for her. But then the old women started to explain, and soon everything made sense to Alex. The woman planned to meet him on the bus to test his kindness and already had the envelope prepared. The encounter he had with the old women on the bus had actually not been so random as he had first thought. Apparently, she had her eye on him for a while, and all because of all the kind things had been doing at his work, which she was also connected to. She was apparently one of the biggest investors in the firm, and as a sort of publicity stunt, She wanted to surprise one of the best and most deserving employees. When talking to some of his supervisors, they all unanimously agreed that Alex was the perfect candidate. And when she found out that Alex was always taking the bus to work, she saw it as the perfect opportunity to test his kindness for herself. And he passed the test with flying colors. And thus, she sat up this whole endeavor to give him the appropriate award. She actually still owned this warehouse, even though it was not still in use, and it was the perfect location to set up a big scene that she could film and use as promotional material, something which they still wanted to do when giving Alex the present. And so Alex just went with the flow, still a bit dazed by everything that had happened, and would end up getting a car from the rich woman. Completely paid for everything so that he would not have to take that crowded bus to work every day.